You have no professional soccer, which is very rare. You know, you look around the world and there's almost no country that you can point to where soccer matters to the population, but yet there is no professional soccer to speak of and nothing for young boys and young girls to aspire to. National teams have been for a long time the be-all and end-all for the average player, because they couldn't see a pathway from playing youth soccer to possibly playing professional soccer. There are hundreds and hundreds of stories of players who've traveled all over the world trying to find their foothold in the professional game, and it's very, very difficult. When you don't have a league of your own, people around the world look at your players and ask, you know, if they're not good enough for you, you don't have any use for them, why do we? So it's not a surprise that for a very long time the grassroots structure in a province like Ontario or in Canada in general, and it's the same applied to the United States, was not really oriented toward the development of professional players, but rather it was oriented around the creation of strong youth teams that in and of themselves would compete against each other and try to win, you know, trophies and tournaments and leagues and what have you. But the re-emergence of professional soccer in the Canadian scene has definitely had an impact on the conversations that are had around you know, the big thinkers in the game in this country. So you know, over the last decade, you've seen a recognition that the system as it was structured before was not designed to develop players that were capable of being high-level professionals on a consistent basis. You would always have the outlier, the player who comes up through the system, is incredibly talented. Christine Sinclair is a perfect example. She came through this system that isn't great, but for a variety of reasons. You know, a very committed family, a very competitive environment, you know, having been allowed to, you know, maybe play up many age levels to keep pushing her. She emerged as one of the world's greatest players of her generation, whereas other players maybe who were similarly talented fell through the cracks. But now there is an understanding and a desire to develop a systematic approach to player development. There are still some challenges to that, because we are trying to implement professional structures in what has largely been an amateur environment, and that takes a long time to put into place. A professional club whose goal it is, A, is to win titles, and B, is to develop players that will allow them to win titles. It's much easier to convince one of them to make the investments in a long-term player development strategy that will hopefully take a young man or young woman at an age of 12, 13 years old and see them develop into a professional when they're in their late teenage years or early 20s. A community youth club doesn't necessarily always see their role the exact same way. So the pace by which we will implement these strategies will be uneven. As we have more professional soccer come on the scene, it will become more and more common to see these kinds of methodologies put in place, and we'll see more and more players going through very high quality development environments. But it takes time, and it takes money, and it takes patience, because you don't undo the mistakes of 30, 40, even 50 years in a short period of time, 5-6 years. So we're all very, as passionate football people, we're all very much in a hurry to see progress, but progress will take time.